Back now to this morning's breaking economic news. The U.S. economy adding 390,000 jobs in May, which is better than expected. President Joe Biden is set to speak about the latest numbers less than an hour from now. But before that, member of the White House Council of Economic Advisors, Heather Boushey, joins us from the White House North Lawn right now. Good morning, and thanks for being here. Well, let's just start with that job number. It's better than expectations, but of course still comes against a backdrop of high inflation. What's the White House response, and what's your reaction to what you saw this morning?
Well, certainly, it's good news for workers when you see an unemployment rate of 3.6% and having seen 8.7 million jobs added since the president took office. So there's a lot of really strong labor market news in this report. What we also see is that the pace of job gains has slowed a little bit. So for the past 3 months, we've seen job gains to the tune of about 400,000 a month. And the previous 3 months before that, they were about 600,000 jobs a month. So that is a sign that we're starting to get back to that right pace that the president talked about in his op-ed earlier this week. You know, we want to see continued gains in the labor market, but we don't want to see that kind of sprint of job gains that we saw earlier in this year and in last year, because we've done a lot of that recovering from the pandemic. We still have a ways to go, so we want to continue to see strong, steady pace of job gains. So I think there's a lot of good news here in this report.
Heather, Sam Stein, the White House editor from Politico, is here and has the next question.
Heather, thanks. You know, obviously everything is colored by inflation, even these strong job numbers. The White House, has made a big show of tackling inflation the past couple of weeks. We've had a couple prominent op-eds from the president himself. But underlying it is the sense that there's very few tools at the president's disposal. I'm wondering, if you had carte blanche, if you were just given sort of dictatorial powers over the economy, what's one policy that you would pursue with no restraint that you think could help get average costs for the consumer under control?
Well, let me be very clear. You know, the reason that we see inflation today is because we're recovering from this historic global pandemic. So, you know, the president has outlined a number of steps that he is taking to make sure that we contain inflation. One of them is letting the Federal Reserve do their job. But another set of them is making sure that he does what he can and what the administration can do, working with Congress to lower the costs facing families. So everything from, looking at all the different ways that we can lower costs from families. So everything from the work that he's done with allies to release oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to really asking Congress to partner with him to lower key costs for prescription drugs, for energy, for child care, for other things that are really pinching family budgets in this time of high inflation. I mean, we don't have a magic wand to fix it. The Fed will do its job. But part of what we need to do is to recognize that recovering from a historic pandemic was never going to be easy. We are not the only country facing inflation. And so focusing on these supply side issues, focusing on how we can help families is the most important thing.
And we're going to hear from the president a little later this morning, live from Delaware, on these jobs numbers. Member of the White House Council of Economic Advisors, Heather Boushey, thank you for joining us today. And that does it for us this morning. We appreciate you watching. Have a great weekend, everybody. Yasmin Vossoughian picks up our coverage in just 2 minutes.